National Signing Day has come and gone, and the USC Trojans add yet more offensive skill. The architect of the Chargers' lone Super Bowl team has passed away, and we're still really not sure what the hell the Rams are getting out of their new offensive coordinator. Hi, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is February 2nd, 2023. Take a moment today. Take a moment and applaud Tom Brady, right? Because the man, he retired a couple of years ago, then he came back. In the process of coming back, loses his supermodel wife. And all he accomplished was getting Tampa Bay to finally beat the Rams. So yes, applause. Slow clap. Dude, you need a life coach. That was taking stupid life choices to a new level. I know how important it is for fans to chant beat LA, but you don't go out and lose supermodel wives over it. Just saying. Meanwhile, if you like the content that we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comments. Me get lonely, me like comments. So before we go through the news and notes, we'll look at the scoreboard. Yesterday for LA teams, nothing, no games. Meanwhile, today the Clippers are in Milwaukee, that should be at 4. The Lakers are at Indiana, that should be at 4. Washington is playing number 9th ranked UCLA. That game is at 6 o'clock, and Washington State is also in town to take on USC at 8. Speaking of USC, let's talk a little football. The Trojans, I can't front. They do have reasons to be happy after National Signing Day, but they also have reasons to believe that they missed out. I'm going to be consistent. Ever since the end of bowl season, whether it was USC or UCLA, I said the same damn thing. Whichever football program remembers to build a defense wins. First school to sanity wins. Been saying it for weeks. So when the Trojans lose defensive back Roderick Pleasant to Oregon, that's a loss. Hell, USC lost 3 blue chippers to the Ducks during the recruiting season. 2 of them were on defense. Now, I will grant you the Trojans added yet another wide receiver in Jacoby Lane and a tight end in Walker Lyons. But the latter, Lyons, won't be in the program for another year. Now, as a side note, I have no problem with why Lyons is not going to be in the program for a year. He's going on a Latter-day Saints mission, and I think it's important to live a godly life. Even if you don't believe what the Mormons believe, I think it's important to live a godly life. Now, when Lyons does come, he is a 4-star prospect. He's 6'5". He's from Folsom, California. I don't necessarily want to be negative on this class. ESPN says USC has 2 of the top 10 players of high school in the country coming next year. Quarterback Malachi Nelson, wide receiver Zachariah Branch. There's an analyst out there who thinks Branch is going to make an instant impact with USC because of his speed, whether it be replacing Jordan Addison in the pass game or becoming a return threat. Fox Sports thinks it's a top 10 class overall. 24/7 Sports ranked at number 12. But again, when you read the comments as to why the ranking is high, virtually all of the praise goes to the offense. Now, don't get me wrong, the Trojans did add defensive players, but the grades on offensive skill are way up there. Out of the top 150 recruits on the 24/7 Sports composite list, USC signed 6. But only 2 of that 6 play defense. So in my opinion, after National Signing Day, the Trojans once again lack depth at defensive line and linebacker. I have to see how things play out. For UCLA, the recruiting class is not as deep as the one over at USC, but they too added offensive skill. We already know about quarterback Dante Moore. We also already know about receivers Jeremiah McClure and Grant Gray. I'm going to be real with you guys. I've been doing this show for almost an entire year, and I still do not get Chip Kelly's methods, not at all. But in the last 2 years, they have been winning with it. So I can't clown what I don't know if it works. If it works, it works. They are more likely to add on high schoolers as what's called preferred walk-ons instead of actually recruiting them, which is very strange. Like you take yesterday, they don't sign, but they allow this kid to walk on. He is a hybrid linebacker and receiver yesterday. A hybrid linebacker and wide receiver? That's like putting a listing on a job search site saying that you're looking for a combination dry cleaner and hot dog vendor. It doesn't make any sense. And by the way, the combination linebacker wide receiver, they're thinking about converting him to running back. Now, I'm not trying to say that to be disrespectful of Wyatt Mosier or Mosier of Yorba Linda. I don't have a problem with him. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. What I am saying is that is a case study at how the Bruins look at things. They look at it differently. And I just can't tell you what it is yet. Former Chargers longtime executive Bobby Beathard, the architect of the franchise's lone Super Bowl team, died Monday from complications to Alzheimer's disease. He was 86. Beathard was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Truth be told, his impact was deeper felt in both Washington and Miami. Teams that he put together there won 4 Super Bowls. But he was a unique character. A good guy. I have yet to see anybody say a cross word about him when he was alive or even now, but a character. When the rest of the league was shifting over to computers, Bobby Beathard, they did a profile on him. They had a photo, stacks of binders all in his office as high as his neck, basically. This guy was old school, but it wasn't that he was old school and crotchety. He was just old school in that he liked paper. That and surfing. Those are the things that I remember most about him, aside from being able to put together really solid football teams. Now, his career did have one flaw. He was the guy who drafted Ryan Leaf, but to get 3 different franchises to a Super Bowl, 3 different teams, run by 3 different owners with different priorities. Some of them obviously not even wanting to get to a Super Bowl. They just want to have, hey, I run an NFL team on their obituary. Bobby Beathard convinced 3 different owners how to get to a Super Bowl. That's an achievement. Meanwhile, for the current Chargers, new offensive coordinator Kellen Moore said an effective running game can enhance Justin Herbert. No kidding. Problem is, the Chargers haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2017. Now, Moore said he knows he has tools on the offensive line. He called center Corey Linsley among the best in the business, and he thinks the future for the offensive line is, quote, skyrocketing, unquote. Moore said that his influence is part West Coast offense and part Eric Coryell from the 1980s, which is weird. Because the West Coast offense uses a lot of short, like super quick ins and out routes, whereas Eric Coryell is about taking long shots deep. So I'd like a little bit of a better answer to that, because that just doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't. So the Rams and the Chargers are both over the salary cap. We established that within the last week. Both teams also have players they would prefer to retain. CBS Sports gave us a hint as to who the Chargers should target. They think linebacker Drew Tranquill is the top priority for the Bolts. And by the way, it makes a lot of sense. Last year was his very first year as a starter. He led the team with 146 tackles. We all thought Derwin James was a tackling machine. Drew Tranquill is right there with him. He's just not as adept at pass coverage, obviously, as Derwin James would be. Tranquill also had 5 sacks last year. So yeah, that would be a pretty wise target. We mentioned CBS looking at who the Chargers should keep. What about the Rams? Glad you asked. Safety Taylor Rapp may have made bigger plays in terms of interceptions for the Rams, but CBS thinks the smarter idea is to keep defensive lineman Greg Gaines, because he made vast improvements in both stuffing the run and a pass rush from up the middle. He's not a defensive end, he's a defensive tackle. Lining him up next to Aaron Donald made the Rams extremely effective. And even after Aaron Donald missed a big chunk of the year, Gaines was still making plays. The only thing I can tell you for sure about incoming Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur is that Sean McVay is still calling the plays. And that suggests LaFleur is basically a sounding board for ideas. And I say this because I've been scouring news sites. I've been scouring NFL sites. I've been scouring LA news sources. I've gone back over the course of the last couple of years and looked up stories on the New York Jets to try to figure out what Mike LaFleur brings to the table. A Jets reporter said it's difficult to ascertain what LaFleur will bring because he was extremely restricted in terms of Jets personnel. In other words, quarterback Zach Wilson couldn't grasp the playbook. So that makes life difficult when you're an offensive coordinator, wouldn't you say? Now, LaFleur wasn't stubborn and tried to force things where it wouldn't fit with Zach Wilson. He simplified the playbook. But when you simplify the playbook, that actually made the passing game less of a threat over in New York. Now, they were able to run the ball effectively for half the year last season, but that was until Breece Hall blew out his knee. Then it dropped like a rock because you had a quarterback who didn't know the playbook. You had nobody to run the ball. NFL executives have admired LaFleur's creativity. NFL players think he's a little odd because he was just so bloody quiet. Apparently, the big selling point to bring him to Los Angeles was the running game with the Jets looked remarkably similar to what they had going on in San Francisco. So if you're looking for reasons, honestly, that's the best I can offer you at this time. The Athletic reports that while the Rams still have interest in a reunion with wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., LA will not go overboard in pursuit. Now, if you know, Beckham hasn't played since last year's Super Bowl when he blasted out his knee. He's turned 30 now. Dodger officials, the really high up muckety mucks, the muckingest McMuckensteins in Dodgers organization. They all said that they stand by their decision to cut Cy Young Award-winning pitcher Trevor Bauer after his multi-year suspension was cut short. Now, to recap, Bauer was accused of a sexual assault a couple of years ago. That case never went to trial. I have no idea what happened in that hotel room that night. Please don't sue me. I don't know who did what. Now, the LA Times, to their credit, tried to get one part of the story straightened out. There was an anomaly in there. Bauer asserted the Dodgers told him that they wanted him on the team. Dodgers president Stan Kasten replied, quote, "I am not going to get into contradicting or agreeing with anything about what was supposed to be a private conversation. I'll just say, within a very short time, we came back and made our decision," unquote. Kasten also said he thought hearing Bauer out was the right thing to do, but releasing him was a unanimous choice, quote, "among the people that are charged with having to make this decision," unquote. Now, we got to be a little fair to Kasten here. He has to choose his words carefully. Bauer is not afraid to lawyer up and sue people, so I understand. I understand the word salad. Nobody likes to eat a word salad, but I understand the word salad. The Dodgers promoted Danny Lehman as their bench coach. He was the, quote, game planning and communications coach, whatever the hell that means, for the last few years. Bob Guerin was the bench coach. He got another job with a highfalutin name that doesn't mean a whole lot to me either. Whatever happened to just hitting coach, pitching coach, third base coach, first base coach? What the hell is a game planning and communications coach? Micromanaging, guys, micromanaging. I'm sure if you've typed in the word Lakers in a search engine, you've read trade rumors about Atlanta's Bogdan Bogdanovic. Let me put it to you this way. The Athletic is reporting that, quote, half the teams in the league have called the Hawks about Bogdan Bogdanovic, so don't read a whole lot into Lakers rumors. The first day of WNBA free agency, the Sparks pick up an outside shooter, Stephanie Talbot, formerly of Seattle. Guard Lexi Brown will also be returning to LA. The Sparks need all the help they can get. They were lousy, absolutely lousy in a number of areas but that includes being butt naked last in three-point shooting. So whatever they can get on the outside might be a bit of a good idea. NHL analyst Pierre LeBrun said the Kings are not likely to add a goalie at the trade deadline because they want a long-term fit. The odds of finding one during the season, slim to none, should be easier in the offseason when Jonathan Quick's contract comes off the books. Jonathan Quick's contract is $5.8 million this year. That's a good chunk of space in the NHL salary cap. Meanwhile, the Kings have sent Tobias Bjornfoot, Alex Turcotte, and Samuel Fagemo all back to AHL affiliate Ontario. Now, technically, Julio Araujo is still with the Galaxy, which is fine. Unless, of course, you're Julian Araujo. The blame keeps shifting as people try to figure out what the hell went wrong. European transfer window closes. There's a deal in place for him to go to Spain to play for Barcelona. What went wrong? Well, I've read stories about how it's Barcelona's fault. I've read stories about how it's MLS's fault. None of this is stopping people from blaming LA Galaxy president Chris Klein. And again, LA Galaxy. This is what happens when your franchise is led by an incompetent who got caught up in a cheating scandal. I mean, look, guys, the Galaxy, you guys, I love the Galaxy. They have a great tradition. They've come out with some really awesome jerseys, amazing looking jerseys. But if you really want to make a killing, you guys need to start creating Galaxy tinfoil hats. Because right now, the average Galaxy fan does not believe a single word that comes out of your front office. Straight and simple. Watching the Galaxy front office is like watching the X-Files on shrooms. That's what's become of the MLS Premier franchise. Now, I don't want to say that I have proof that there is a cabal of supervillains in international soccer whose sworn mission is to protect Chris Klein at all costs, but I still have people who reach out to me with nothing, and they swear that the fact that there are no articles on Chris Klein's involvement is proof that Chris Klein was involved. So for the love of God, LA, please get rid of this guy. I don't need emails about the FIFA Illuminati. Finally, yes, I am aware that arena football is coming back, and I don't care if they put 3 teams in Los Angeles. I am not talking arena football. Thank you. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelino Sports. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.